The European Union's border agency says illegal crossings rose last year to their highest level since 2017. Nearly 8,000 people entered the bloc from Belarus. The EU accuses Minsk of flying in migrants from the Middle East and sending them illegally to the Polish border. Well, DW talked to a psychologist who is helping refugees who made it to Germany but are still traumatized by their journey.
A hug for comfort. Psychologist Maria Kaszonjak welcomes an Afghan family in Berlin. They were trapped on the border between Belarus and Poland. The mother lost her unborn child while in a Polish asylum center.
They are still afraid of having to go back to their country, afraid of having to go back to Poland, afraid that they won't be understood with their problems. When there is so much fear, it is very hard to start a therapy.
EU law says the family should apply for asylum in Poland, the first member state they entered. But the family say they spent weeks in closed asylum centers there, and lack of medical assistance caused the woman's miscarriage. They felt they had no choice but to go to Germany.
We said that if you are deporting us back to Poland, we will not go. You will have to send us back to Afghanistan, but not Poland, because we have very bad time from the Poland, very bad experience. I lost my child. We had nothing to eat. We were suffered a lot.
Maria Kaszonjak is helping the family with their asylum case. She says the uncertainty is taking a mental toll on them.
It's probably one of the worst things that can happen, putting them in a long limbo after very traumatic experiences. They don't know what will happen to them and their kids. It's like postponing their fears.
She hopes that more stability will make the therapy more effective, and that the family can come to terms with their ordeal.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by DW's Emanuela Chaz. She has reported extensively on the migrant crisis across Europe and covered the developments on the Poland-Belarus border. Now, asylum seekers and refugees are clearly on the front line when it comes to issues around mental health. What have you seen?
Well, you know, when you report from the borders, you see that people are clearly in need of health care, especially mental health support. The World Health Organization estimates that 1 out of 5 adults living in conflict settings or being a displaced person suffers from mental issues. And of course, when I reported at the border between Poland and Belarus, I could see people who had spent days, weeks on end, alone in a forest, having to survive on drinking from ponds, eating mushrooms or even leaves. So you can imagine the toll it takes on mental health. When I was reporting in Central Mediterranean, I could talk to people who actually were in situations where they almost lost their lives at sea. They were in increased risk of dying in a very dangerous setting. So of course this takes its toll on mental health. They do face also an uncertain future. So at all stages of the migration process, those persons actually are at acute risk of suffering from mental health issues.
And their struggle doesn't end once they've got to a safe country, does it?
It doesn't end indeed, because once they've arrived to what one could deem a safe place, Germany, for example, where there they face uncertainty. They also suffer from the lack of contact with relatives who remained in the country of origin, for example. They struggle to access healthcare, even if just because of the mental barrier, the language barrier they would have at the very beginning. There's also integration and settlement that is sometimes problematic due to cultural differences, religious differences, societal differences. So it's a long and struggling process for asylum seekers.
On an international level, what's being done to help prevent the displacement of populations?
Well, there's a global action plan to promote the health of refugees that is being implemented by the World Health Organization. Of course, the UNHCR also tries to promote plans of education, of development in the countries of origin in order to prevent the causes for displacement in the first place, but there's still very much remaining to do.
Emmanuel Chas, thank you very much.